Hey everyone, welcome back. So what we're going to do now is extend on this common.js JavaScript file we created last time and write the code which will enable and disable the submit button as we type. So we want it so that when the user has some text in there, the post button will become enabled, but when there's no text in there, it's disabled so they can't click it. And it's really simple to do. What we're going to do is go to our common.js file, and I said we'd keep this in there, this document.ready, but I don't think we're going to need it like I said last time, so on second thought, I'm going to delete it. We can just add it again later if we did need it, but I'm pretty sure we don't need it for anything. So yeah, I'll get rid of that. We have an empty file now. And what I'm going to do is write some code which will fire when this text area is typed into. So what we're going to do is get the ID of this text box. So if I go back to, where was it, in mixins, you can see we created this text area and we gave it the ID post text area. Okay, so I'm going to take that ID and copy it, and we will write some more jQuery. Inside double quotes, I'm going to put the selector, so the ID of the text area, and we'll just say dot key up. And on key up, we're going to do some code. So key up is when the key on your keyboard is comes up when it's pressed. There are other events like key down and stuff like that, but we're going to use key up, which is when the key is released. We're going to call a function, so just create an arrow function, and this function will take one parameter like this. And I don't think I mentioned this yet, but when an arrow function like this has only one parameter passed into it, you can actually get rid of the parentheses around it. So you don't need this surrounding parentheses when there's only one value there. So I can get rid of both of those, and you can just have the variable name on its own. If your function was going to have multiple things passed into it, like something else here, you would need parentheses around the two. But because in our case we just have the one, just the event parameter, we don't need any parentheses around it. So you can simplify it a little bit. So basically, this key up event will fire when the keyboard key is released, so on the key up, and it will call this function here, and when it calls it, it will pass in this event property. So that will be passed into here. So what we'll do is we'll get the text box. We'll say var text box equals, and we can just say event.target. Now what we've done is we've created a JavaScript object, and we've created it using the event.target. So if I just say console.log text box, let's take a look what that gives us. So I'll go back to my page, I'll refresh it. Now of course, because I haven't done any server changes, there's no need to restart the server, just in case you're wondering. But anyway, if I type in there now, I should see something appear in the console. Let me just get this into a position where you can hopefully see it. Let's bring this across here. So as soon as I type, you see the event fire. So it's done it on key up, it's fired an event, and it's logged this text box. So what I can even do, just to show you something further, you don't have to copy this, you can just watch if you want to, but I'll go to my sources tab, just like we do with the CSS file, and I'm going to press Command P, and I'll open this common.js file, and you can see the code we have there. And what I'm going to do is set a breakpoint. Again, just watch this if you want to. You don't have to do this yourself. I just want to show you what this event contains. And if I press the key again in there, this is fired. So you can see it's fired every single time we type a key. And the event has all these different properties to do with this key up event. Now, event.target is the element that the event was called on, which in our case is this post text area. Okay, it's the target of the event. But there's loads of cool properties in here that you can make use of in a bunch of different scenarios. But for us, we only care about one thing, and that's the text area that is used. So yeah, that's it. So what I did is I just disabled that breakpoint again. And there's a button down here for resuming it, because at the moment it's in a pause state. We're in a debugging state. If I press this button down here or press F8, it will just resume the execution. So yeah, that's it. That's the text box. We have that now, and we're ready to start using it. What we'll do is we'll get the value. So underneath there, I'll say var value equals textbox.val. Now .val is a built-in function which gives you the value of this element. In our case, it will be the text that's in the text box. But what we also want to do is trim it. We'll say trim. So This means it will stop the button being enabled when the user has entered a space. Trim will remove the spaces from before and after the input. So we mentioned this when we did the sign up page, but it'll get rid of the spaces before and after, so we'll be left with everything else. We don't want to allow them to post an empty post with just spaces, so we're just going to trim it and then check if the value after it's been trimmed is empty or not. So what I'll do, just to make sure this works, I'll just log the value right there, and then we'll go from there. So now you should see, every time I type a key, you should see it console.log the value. So I'll write H, and you'll see it in there, ELLO. So you can see each time it's printed out the value of the text box. Yeah, so pretty good, right?